proud to welcome to the call this evening, Crown Leader Ra. Ra, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Leslie. That was an amazing spark of inspiration to give us to start this journey through today. I do want to recognize you, Leslie, for all the energy that you bring, and thank you so much also for inviting me on here, and everybody watching. That energy you feel from Leslie, and the energy you're going to feel from me is in direct response to the energy of all the people here. So I just want to acknowledge everybody here, of course, acknowledge Purium and my team members, because I definitely wouldn't be sitting in this seat if it wasn't for all of them.
That's lovely and really spot on. Thank you, Ra. All right, so let's get into all of Ra's good stuff. Ra came up with 5 aspects of mindset that he wanted to share with you. And he sent me the list, and I'm just going to pitch him his topic, and I'm just going to let him do his thing until he's done and fully complete. And then he'll ship it back to me and we'll go through his list. Now, I really recommend everyone, paper and pencil. You're going to hear truth bombs. You're going to hear mindset, you are going to hear philosophy, you're going to hear stories that are really going to support you and strengthen your mindset. I'm a huge Ra fan, as you can tell. All right, so number 1, in Ra's list, he wrote, mindset isn't just mind. And then he, in parentheses, says there's a trinity of mind, emotion, and action. Ra. Oh, you know what? Sorry, that was last year's. I saved them because they were so good. Sorry, that was my error. But hell, that shit was really good last year. But we're not doing that right now. That was last year's. I kept them because they were so good. Sorry, that was last year's was good. Okay, rewind. So, Ra, the first one you said for this year is you actually have 2 questions for everybody. How much have you grown in the last year? And how much do you intend to grow this year? Why don't you jump into that?
Yeah, so these are 2 questions, and you guys could put them in the chat, or you can just use this as a thought experiment. How much have you grown in the last year? And how much do you intend to grow this year? It is the beginning of a new year, according to the calendar that we use, and it is a good time to check in. And I just want to use this as an exercise, just check in with this year. But then also I want to segue into the fact that the metrics that we use to track is going to equate to the amount of improvement that we make. So if we're only tracking once a year, then that's the expected growth that we can expect, that we might grow more this year than last year. But if we start to track our numbers once a month, which our business model makes really easily, then we can improve month after month, right? We have data that we can quantify and improve upon. But beyond that, if we start to track weeks, which also Purium has set up the system for us to be able to track weeks with the UBT, with the widen your reach, basically track action during the weeks, then we can look at, analyze, improve, plan the next thing that we do based on weekly targets. But I'm bringing this all into the discussion to say that if we track what we do on a daily basis, then we're going to be able to enhance, improve those metrics more rapidly, adjust, and flow into and build day after day. And there's a exercise that I have started doing that has completely changed my life, and it's journaling in the morning. And it takes 5 minutes. And I have a notebook next to my toilet where I go to every single morning before I look at my phone, and I answer 3 questions in the morning. What am I grateful for? What would make today great? And what are my goals and dreams? So the what will make today great and what are my goals and dreams, that's a check-in. And it keeps me honest of what today is about. And I would just like to bring that to everybody here. If we're checking in every single day, if we are being our own upline and we're checking in with ourselves every single day, then great things will happen daily, not maybe during this month or maybe during this week or maybe during this year, but daily. And when we're doing this, we want to be specific, okay? Because if we have general ideas, then general things will be created. And a lot of times our general ideas might be manifested in somebody else's life. If we're like, we want to be specific, we want to see ourself in the creation process. And so I do have a writing exercise that you guys can either rewatch this recording or jot down notes right now, or just once again, just be in your thoughts. But like, in order to be specific with Purium, we can break Purium like as a business down into 4 aspects. So those 4 aspects of our Purium profession can be broken down. Let's just general, I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but for me, breaking them down, we've got customers, brand partners, our organization, and our leadership abilities. These are 4 of what I consider the main aspects of our Purium organization that we want to be tracking daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, but we do want to be tracking on it, which means that we want to be intending, and we should have an ideal of what that is. So the exercise, the writing exercise that you guys can do later is to look at those 4 aspects and design your perfect scenario within your Purium organization. How many customers? How are they attained? What are they buying? What's the amounts, right? What are the results they're having? If you can write down in a paragraph what the ideal customer experience is within your Purium organization, that's a starting place. That's a goal. That's a target. All right. Brand partners, same thing. How are they attained? How many? Who are they? What kind of attributes do they have? How active are they? Right? If we know what our intended brand partner portion of Purium is, then we can have a specific target. Your organization, okay? How is it structured? What is the culture? How big is it? How does it grow? Does it grow exponentially? Write it down so that you actually have a formulated specific target for what this very important aspect of your business is. The last thing I mentioned, your leadership abilities, how you look, how you speak, how you act, how you assure yourself evolvement, if that's a word. Evolution, that's the word I'm looking for. How you assure your evolution, how much people respect you, how much respect do you give to others? How are you able to, how powerful are you able to empower others? So the purpose of this is just to get specific on your goals. I started with the year, we come down to daily, and then I just want to give you guys like a broad way that you can diagnose your targets for your business by just being more specific about customers, brand partners, your organization, and your leadership abilities. So Leslie, I'm going to stop there.
Whew. Okay. So I just want to do a quick recap because I'm a speed writer. His 3 questions that he journals every day, and being a woman who journals and does vision work every single morning, I admire it. I'm telling you, I agree with him. It will change your life. He answers 3 questions every morning. I'm going to start answering tomorrow morning. What am I grateful for? I have already been doing gratitude, but I love this question. What will make today great? That was the second question. What will make today great? Okay. And the third question, what are my goals and dreams? So this way he's coming from gratitude. He's coming from what draws my passion, what lights me up, and what are my goals and dreams, professionally, personally, whatever. So those were those 3 questions. And then he gave you 4 aspects, 4 pillars, 4 things to track to simplify your Purium business: customers, brand partners, your organization, and your leadership abilities. Those were those 4 areas. And then as you notice, he expanded out on all of them. Where are they going to come from? What are they going to be like? What are their attributes? So the details of all of them. But I know you're all writing fast. I wanted to give you those 4 categories again. All right. Super good. Roz.
Thank you.
Oh,
I do just want to say that the journal questions comes from this book called The 5-Minute Journal. I did just want to say that I didn't make those up.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to take a tangent here. I cannot tell you how many times I quote people, take people's ideas, and I always give the credit. Not everybody does that. To me, it's a sign of character. And the fact that he just did that doesn't surprise me at all. But that is not only character that he just showed you. It may seem like a little thing, but it's not. It's a big thing in my book, being a writer. It's a big thing that he did not take credit for a thought that somebody else came up with. And he shared the name of the book with you. Why don't you share the name of the book again?
The 5-Minute Journal. I think the reason why I didn't share it on the spot is because I was like, do I promote something else? And
Yep, of course you do. I think that's high character, and I think that's great leadership. And to someone's points here, you also give a wonderful resource for everyone. That's leadership in action. That's character in action. Well done, Ra. All right, the second mindset point from 2023, he writes, how intention setting improves you as a person. What do you mean about intention setting, Rob?
okay. So I do a lot of work around manifestation, and whether we actually believe in this or not, I can talk about this from a non-believer standpoint as well. So I'm going to flop back and forth. But I just want to say that when we are intention setting, creating, manifesting, it's not so important to focus on what we want. All right, what we want is actually, the word want actually means lack. So manifestation doesn't just give us what we want. That's kind of what a lot of people think happens. We want something and then we get it because we manifested it. That's not exactly how it works. When we intend for something, this is all an electromagnetic field, right? And when we send out a signal with our thoughts, because our thoughts are measurable signals, the universe, which is the field around us, seeks harmony. Okay, all fields of energy seeks harmony. They're going to balance when they interact with other fields. They're going to balance together. And so if you're intending something, and for it to happen, the only way that there's going to be a match reality to what you're intending is for you to be a different person. Because right now you're harmonized to a reality all around you for you, how you are now. And if you're looking to change that reality, whether it's in your business or anything else, it's only going to change if you change. So when the signal gets sent out, the only way to balance out this disruption, because it is a disruption, because it's different than who you are now, is that you have to change. All right. So the only way that you get to be in a different reality is if you change. Now, how do we change? How do we grow? We grow through lessons and challenges and tests of our will. And so once reality starts to challenge us and tests us, it's because of the intentions that we set. And a lot of people, when they're like, I want to do this thing, or I intend to do this thing, and then challenges come up, they don't realize that that's the route to where you need to go. All right. And I just want to take a step back for those that don't, vibe with this is all an electromagnetic field matrix thing that I'm setting up here as a foundation. There's something in our brain called the reticular activating system. It's what picks up what's important in our environment. All right. It's like when you go to the car dealership and you look at a yellow Corvette, and then you drive out into the streets and all of a sudden you see 7 yellow Corvettes that week. It's because the reticular activating system's picking out what's important. And so even if you're not vibing with the electromagnetic thing, your RAS system is going to start picking up the challenges. You're going to start noticing things in your reality that look hard. They look like challenges because that's what your intention is. And your body is sensing that this is the way to go. And I'm just saying this because it looks in the opposite direction of where we want, because it's hard. All right. When we're looking at it, we just see a bunch of muck and we're like, and we look back in the direction that we are coming from, who we were and are right now. And it's easy. It's easy because that reality is already harmonized to you as you are. So the easy way to go is to stay who you are, right? Perfect harmony with reality as it is. But if you're seeking difference, then things are going to crumble around you. There is going to be tests. There are going to be extreme challenges, guys, extreme challenges. If you're just hopping realities, like things are massively different. Things are going to be challenging you, and you're going to grow as a person to match the frequency of that reality. So just an example, if you're just like, I wish I was making $20,000 a month, if you're not making that right now, well, the version of you that's making $3,000 a month to $20,000 a month, just thinking logically, what sort of differences would exist there? Leadership, responsibility, fearlessness, let's just say courage, I should say. In order to gain courage, what do you have to do? A bunch of stuff that you were scared to do, but you did it anyways, right? So in between 3,000 and 20,000 is all of the challenges that's going to make you more courageous, more responsible, more of a leader. And that's some work to do. All right. So Leslie, I'm gonna pass it back to you on that.
This is so good. This is so good. And I love the fact that you gave us both the version of law of attraction, knowing that perhaps not everyone is going to jive with that, and then gave it from the science aspect of it. But I really think the lesson here for me was, to quote Jim Rohn, for things to change, you have to change, which is one of my favorite quotes, right? If you want things to be different, then you must be different. You can't continue to think and act and do the same things if indeed you want your life in any area of your life to be different. So what Ra is challenging to you is to set the intention and then find the courage to take the action and go through the challenges on your route to being that new you. Ra?
Thank you. Before we move on to the next one, I just want to give the second part of the writing exercise where we wrote down the specifics of our business. So we got those 4 aspects. The second part of that exercise is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being bullseye and 10 being far away. Rank what your current business is compared to the ideal paragraph that you wrote down. And then that way you understand the space that we're talking about, right? So if the paragraph you wrote down is exactly how it is right now, then that's a 1. If it's far away, then that's like an 8. And you realize that there's a space there, and we're going to talk about how to fill that space.
Okay, let's create clarity around that. So when we go back to that original exercise, you're talking about the 4 aspects of Purium, right? When they were writing about that. Okay, so what he's saying, I believe, correct me if you're wrong, if you do the journaling work, and you take the time with those 4 aspects of the customers, your brand partners, your organization, your leadership ability, and you expand out on all of that, this is where my business is, right? And now he's saying part 2 of that is compare what you wrote to where you're saying you want to be. If you have 3 customers, compare it to, let's go do the dollars. I think that's easier. If you're at $3,000 and you're saying, I want to be at $10,000 a month, he's saying, take those same targets, those same areas of your business, and write out what has to happen in order to move in that direction. Am I understanding you correctly, Rob?
Sorry for making this all confusing, but what you wrote down is your ideal. That's your bullseye. That's your target of what you want your business to be. So you're writing down your target, and then what you're ranking is now compared to the target.
Okay.
So most of us are not going to be close to the target.
Okay. I had it perfectly backwards. Okay.
Yes.
So I had it perfectly wrong. Okay. So his 4 aspects are where you want to be in your business. And then he's saying, make note of where you are currently so that you could see the juxtaposition of where you are and where you want to be. All right. Sorry, I made it confusing. I take full responsibility for that. All right, but that's a great exercise, Rob. I'm going to pause for a moment, put a 1 in the chat. If after I confused you all, we cleared it up for you. Put a 1 in the chat if we did make that finally clear. Okay, that's good because it's really important stuff. All right. Sorry about that. Okay,
I didn't warn Leslie about this at all. I just started, we're going to do an exercise today.
Yeah, now which way was it? Okay, number 3 in Ra's list is true financial value, the true financial value of being a professional Purium brand partner. Let's expand on that, Ra.
The funny thing is, what I have written in my notes is so much less eloquent than what I gave you. I just have true value of business.
Go ahead.
When I texted you everything, I was like, make this more enticing. Okay, so I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make in our profession is that they're not able to truly see the value of the business. And there's 2 misunderstandings regarding that I want to address. Number 1 is that they're looking, people, it's so easy to look at this as a few hundred or a few $1,000s a month. And when compared to being an employee, right? So if you're making $1,500 or $1,000 a month in Purium, that takes achievement, right? Like $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, your Purium organization might be grossing $15,000 to $20,000 in sales. And so comparing dollars in the bank towards gross sales sometimes isn't done, because all we really care about is dollars in the bank. And when we're looking at dollars in the bank, we're comparing that most of the time to jobs, employee jobs. And we're looking at $1,500 in the month with Purium versus $1,500 in the month with Starbucks. Well, you might be able to make $22,000 a month with Starbucks. So then you're like $2,000 a month at my old job versus $1,500 at Purium. I'm going to go get the extra $500. And what you're not realizing is that there's a major difference. Okay. When you're an employee at a business and you're making a paycheck, you don't own the assets that generated that money. Those assets cost money, and you're getting a percentage of the profit of that asset. But Purium, we like to say that this is a business. This is a business model, which means that if you're taking off the top of your business that's grossing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, maybe it's just $6,000, and you're taking off the top few hundred, few $1,000s of profit. I don't want to say that you own your structure, because we don't really own people, but we were responsible for building the structure that's responsible for selling those products. And we benefit off of that structure because we took the time, energy, effort to lead these, to sell to customers, to enroll brand partners, to make sure that those brand partners get enrolled. And if right now you're making a certain profit, it's a huge difference of profit owning a business than profit being an employee where there's absolutely no loyalty and you can get fired tomorrow and not have any residual energy for your effort. I hope I'm making sense here. That this is a business, and the money coming to the bank is a result of a much bigger organization that you're responsible for building and that you can benefit from long term. Second misunderstanding is that it's the investment money. Because we're only really investing a few $100s to get started, it's very difficult to see this as $1 million opportunity, $1 million in the bank. So now let's actually talk about dollars in the bank. A few hundred come out. It's really easy to think that that's all this is worth. It's a few $100s. And it's really easy to miss the potential for $1 million. $1 million, a lot of people make in their lifetime, right? So $1 million is about It's about how can we attain it quicker than working for 60 years, right? How can we attain it quicker? I did some math. I looked at the compensation plan. A 2-star crown makes $1 million in a little over 3 years. A crown, 5.5 years. A red diamond hits $1 million in 6 years, according to the averages in our compensation plan. A diamond is 31 years. So the third part of the exercise that's kind of weaved into this is write down your obstacles. Write down all the obstacles that you think exist in life. Because there's always going to be obstacles when you're learning something. Remember riding a bike? You fell down a few times. And if you're just looking at like, I don't want to risk falling on this bike because riding down the street isn't that important to me, right? It's super easy to see this Purium business short-sighted. The $1,500 is not worth it to me. The impacting a few people isn't worth it to me, but we're kind of forgetting, just like the bike scenario, that if we learn to ride a bike, we can literally ride it across the country. We can go on adventures forever. We have a skill forever. So if we learn network marketing, we're going to attain these skills forever, and we can use them in our business and outside of our business forever. And once we write down these obstacles, we want to go back through them. So we write down our obstacles that we think we have in our life. And a lot of times, nobody's ever done this exercise in their entire life. Write down the obstacles that's preventing you from reaching your goals. And then ask yourself, is this preventing me from achieving the ideal target? Remember the targets? Once you write down our obstacles, yes or no? Does this obstacle prevent me from achieving my bullseye target scenario? The answer almost always is going to be no. And the fact that we wrote down our obstacles and then wrote down the word no next to it is a very powerful thing. All right. So I know that I'm trying to make this relate to the business, and I'll let you recap, Leslie, because you do such a good job recapping. Remember, I talked about the value of the business and the difference between being an employee versus a business, and then the investment and how this can be $1 million business.
Yep. And I think it's a beautiful analogy. And if I know you're in your flow, but the chat is proving that, yes, you are making a lot of sense, and you're making your points very well. Just to recap this real briefly, I think the thing he said that really impacted me after 32 years in this business, and I'm agreeing 100%, is that too often, because the investment to get started is so low, that people don't realize the $1 million potential. And I think that sums it up beautifully. You're investing a few $100s in most cases. And even if you go for transformation now, let's say you invest $1,000, still, where else can that literally turn into $1 million potential? I also liked his point as far as you're taking charge of building the structure, meaning the customers, the brand partners, duplicating leadership. You have ownership in creating that structure that will pay you forever, right? His bike analogy was spot on. Okay, being a cyclist, I think it's, I get it. I remember the challenges I had going into clipless pedals and different types of shifting and riding on the road with cars and buses and people and potholes, and the courage it took to master that skill. And yet I mastered that skill, and now I can ride my bike anywhere and everywhere. And to his point, go on adventures, and it's a skill I have forever. That's a perfect analogy to building a downline and getting that residual as compared to being an employee. All right. So, and then his final exercise, again, if I will get this one correctly, writing down your obstacles. Okay. And I do this exercise regularly as well. What are the obstacles? Then you ask your questions, ask yourself, is this obstacle? So what are some obstacles? You can put them in the chat. Your age, time. I have a full-time job. I've got a full-time job, 3 kids, 2 dogs. My spouse doesn't support me in this. I've never done anything like this before. I live in a small town. I've never sold before. I mean, I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too this. I'm too that. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, is this obstacle truly keeping me from achieving my goals, because that is a choice. You are choosing to allow it to keep using your goals, and or you can find a solution. There's always a solution in my book. Obstacles are simply a block in the road that gives us the opportunity to go around or above or below. So do not underestimate that last exercise he gave you. In fact, I think we'll find out that by the end of this call, of all the great things he's saying, if you were just to do that one obstacle, to identify the top 5 obstacles you perceive are keeping you from being successful in your Purium business. And if you were to really, any ones he said that you write no next to, you have just set yourself free to take action in a new way. So I think that's really powerful. Rob, you are delivering at a high level as always. All right. Are you complete? Are you ready to go to number 4? Okay, number 4, he wrote, choose, this is going to be fascinating. Choose an identity that is stronger than your distractions. Okay, let me say it again, and then I'll put it in the chat. Choose an identity that is stronger than your distractions. Ra?
This one's going to be short. It has to be said, though, there's a lot of distractions in our life right now, in our perspective, okay, coming through our phone. It's coming in like record numbers of distractions. And recognizing that the identity that is greatest for us is going to require us to be able to look through the distractions, okay? And also even realize that a lot of these distractions are by design, right? The great coliseums of the past and even of the current were made so that the people wouldn't revolt. It's a known tool by kings that they use to keep the people distracted so they don't revolt. And this isn't a discussion about the elites, but this is just to bring awareness that we have a choice to break up with, or at least put on the bench, the part of us that has to prove to everyone that your perspective is the right one and their perspective is the wrong one, because there's so much of that going on, and participating in this back and forth in this side versus this side, it's not going to serve your creation. All of the chatter doesn't serve your creation. And we can control a few things in life, primarily our perspective of how we see things, our response to what we perceive, and our activity. That's kind of like the main things that we have control of. And once we choose an identity, then we can choose what these 3 things, what we're perceiving, how we're responding to the perceivings, and what we're acting on. We can choose whether it's serving our identity or serving the distraction. Because when I say distraction, it means everything that's not you, your chosen identity. And so once we choose who we are, we just want to make sure that what we can control is serving our identity, because all the other distractions are going to help you form somebody else's identity if you're not paying attention to what you're doing and how it's serving your identity. So that's it. Just pay attention to where your energy is.
This is so good. Let me just finish my thought in the chat. Okay, controller. Okay, so I love this. This is so interesting, Rob, because I did an exercise on this very recently. And it was a whole exercise on when you're clear on your identity, and we have different identities for different things, but when we're clear on our identity, we will act differently, which is what Ra is saying. And so the example that I was working with in this exercise was actually all about fitness. You know, what is it that will drive me to work out every morning, go for the walk, get on the bike, stretch, do my yoga? And the exercise I was working on is I have to identify myself as an athlete. And when I identify myself as an athlete, then I get on the bike I do my yoga and I work out. But that's just one of my identities. Professionally, I identify myself as a teacher. And I identify myself as creative. And that's what allows me to come up with my presentations. And that's what allows me to coach and mentor, open-heartedness. So when you think about your Purium business, identify yourself as an entrepreneur, or identify yourself as a salesperson. Identify yourself as a business owner. Identify yourself as a enchantress. If you were with us early in the call before I hit recording, identify yourself as a boss babe. Identify yourself, exactly, the I am Nancy with an I, right? And that's a Joel Osteen quote. What you are, what follows I am. I may not have that quote exactly, but that's a Joel Osteen quote. Okay, so he's saying we can't control everything, but we can control how we perceive things. We can control our response to things, and we can control our actions. And to figure out, are they serving and helping me craft or create or design or live into the identity I choose? So I was doing this exercise as I was listening to him. And so I put down, I'm an athlete. I was just going off on a little tangent while he was talking. So I was an athlete, right? I'm a teacher, and y'all know how I'm manifesting Mr. Next. So I'm a lover. I'm a partner. I'm part of a twosome, right? That's an identity that I'm living into, right? May not be the reality today, but as I choose that identity every day, we go back to his very first thought about intention and attracting, right? I'm going through the muck when we'll ultimately be there. This is so good. I could talk about this stuff all day long. And Ra, you lay it out in just such an interesting, clear, unique way. Okay, so we're getting some, I am a healer, Giovanna saying. Gleneth, I'm a midnight traveler. No, come on, you guys. Identify your identity. And his final, the point he wanted you to include in this was, once you consider your perception, your response, and your activity, is to consider if it is indeed serving the identity that you say you choose to be. There could be a disconnect there. If you're eating poorly, you're not exercising, but you're saying my identity is an athlete, well, then we have a major disconnect. If you say your identity is an entrepreneur, but you won't pick up the phone, you won't make the call, you won't get out of your comfort zone, you won't invite to the event, you won't be coachable, you don't make the time, then you're not really an entrepreneur. Then you're a wannabe. And in all areas of our life, that really is how I boil it down. Like, we're either a wannabe or we truly live into the identity we say we choose to be. So good stuff, Ra.
Identity is not a label, everyone. Identity, the word comes from the same word as identical. So identity is a state of being. You're identical to a teacher. I think Angela, I am a teacher. I am identical to a teacher. When you're claiming an identity, you are identical to the thing.
That's good.
Not a simple label. It's a proclamation.
A proclamation with the actions to support it. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's stronger than a saying.
Yeah, super good.
State of being.
All right. Okay, number 5. Are we all ready? This is so good. Number 5, you are a seed. You are a seed being cultivated mid-winter. All right, lay it on us, Ra.
Leslie, did you quote this a couple weeks ago? Forcing change based on a date on a calendar as opposed to your true readiness.
Yeah, and I gave the name of the woman that I read it from. I don't recall off the top of my head. It's in my notes. But yeah, I read it from her, and she was talking about why our resolutions, why so many people don't meet their resolutions, because you're basing it on a date rather than a willingness to take action and change.
So I got a notification from Equinox, the gym I go to, and it was a bold statement. And basically, January 1st, every single gym, it's the busiest day. I own gyms. January 1st is the busiest day. Equinox sent me something that said, we are not accepting new memberships today. We don't do January 1st, is basically what they're saying. We don't do New Year's resolutions. Your life doesn't start at the beginning of the new year. That's not what being a part of Equinox is about. Like, they sent this super bold, like, I opened the Equinox app to even just go to the gym. I couldn't even go to the gym on January 1st. It's like the gym holiday. And they were like, we look forward for you coming tomorrow and, any other time during this year. And the point that I want to make is that, because you said that thing about from Amy Morin, and it is the middle of winter time, and we tend to make these January 1st resolutions now. And I just want to add on to that and just be another voice saying, don't be discouraged if you're unable to get into action. And I started thinking about nature because we're Purium, right? And I started thinking about seeds. All right. And I came up with an analogy of the seed. A seed usually has a hard shell on it, right? And then it's the stuff inside that's important. And when the seed drops down from a tree, the winter time serves to break the shell of the seed down. And it also serves to till the soil, because there's rain or snow and then thaw and then snow and then thaw and then snow. And that's actually what helps the seed get down into the soil. And basically, wintertime is a readiness phase. All right. And in, being a professional Purium brand partner, what you'll learn is that the results of today are usually because of the activity that you've taken in the last 90 days. All right. And be okay with right now not seeing the results of your intentions that you made 10 days ago. Okay. We have to cultivate this frame of reference, this identity, this state of being, to cultivate these ideas, to cultivate a team. And we are in a seed stage. It's wintertime. The sun's not out. All right. The days are very short. We get tired. We get tired when the sun goes down. But as the good thing about now is that the days are getting longer and longer and longer, pretty much all the way till like middle of the summer. Let's just say around 6 months from now. And I just don't want to see anyone burn out because they don't see their New Year's resolutions happening now, and be okay with the team that you have, even if it's just customers. All right. We don't need to burn anybody out right now. Consistently water them. Think about them as seeds as well. And know that a seed has what inside of it? A whole tree. If it's a seed from a tree, right? That seed, your seed, whether it's a brand partner, you're looking at a seed, they have an ability to sprout an entire tree, which then has an ability to sprout tons of more seeds, right? And that's how this business works. It does take growing and nurturing though. And we want things quickly. It's just human nature. And especially in this business, we want, fast start director. And people can hit fast start director, but, sometimes people go up and down, and we need to realize that we can be planting more seeds as opposed to trying to make a tree grow super fast. There's another analogy I wanted to make from a book, The Hidden Life of Trees. I think it was written by a tree expert. And what he was saying is the trees that grow the fastest are the ones that break the easiest, because they didn't grow strong enough as they were growing up. They need to grow wide and dense, not just up. And so let's not overstress ourselves, and let's not overstress our team because of the huge agenda we have to fulfill our January 1st resolutions, and realize that it's a process. And in this circumstance, it's a 90-day process. The results of us taking action now are going to be rewarded to us in 90 days. And I just want to give the fourth part of the exercise that's been weaved in through this. And it's just looking at those 4 categories again and writing down an action step that you can take to help you get closer to that target. It's not anything you need to commit to taking, but what is one action step that you can take, that you're able to take for the customers, the brand partners, the organization, and leadership to help you move closer towards that ideal. And we just start one step at a time. So that's all I have to say about that. We're seeds, and seeds have power, even if they're still on the ground.
So good. That's so good. The results today, your results you see today are a reflection of the activities that you've taken over the past 90 days. That is a great tip to not only hear, but to understand, to internalize. And when he talks about cultivation, cultivating your team, cultivating your customers, cultivating yourself, he stayed in the seed tree analogy, watering your customers, watering your brand partners, watering yourself, taking action every day. Just like a seed is down, the seed is down in the soil, but it's still growing. It may not be perceptible to the eye, but it's still moving, it's still evolving, it's still growing so that one day it can sprout out through the soil. So taking action every day at whatever level. And again, coming back to the control, you can control your pace, just like he was talking about controlling your perception. When that third thing was your actions, you can control that. So not to burn yourself out, but to stay in continual action, right? Be okay where you are now. I think that's beautiful. All right. Oh, and the 4th action step. Okay. What is an action step I can take today to move me in the direction of my goal, move me in the direction of my dream? Right? The third part of that exercise, what are the obstacles? What are the things I'm convinced, I have convinced myself are my obstacles, right? And so after you move through that around, over, above, what is an action step? And you can take more than one, but what is at least one action step you are prepared, you are committed to taking today that will move you forward? And there's empowerment in that one step. And courage is created so that you can start taking more steps and start walking and then start jogging and then start running if you choose to. All right, super good, Rob. All right, that's our time check. That is our time check, Ra. So what I would like to do is ask for top takeaways and then any final thoughts from you. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's have some. I know this is so good. What is a top takeaway? I know there's a bunch of them, but what is a top takeaway from this conversation this evening that has changed you or resonated with you or you're prepared to put into practice? Yarrow is saying, keep planting seeds. Angelo is putting my journal by my toilet. I knew. If anyone was going to say that, Angelo, it was going to be you. All right, take one step. Keep watering myself. Don't miss the value of my Purium business because the investment's so low. Choose an identity, be identical, that is stronger than my distraction. How do I identify myself? Choose an identity. I think the identity really hit home with people. Pay attention, planting seeds, be specific. Generality goes out to the universe and happens to someone else. A seed has the wisdom of a full-grown tree. Writing down your target, writing down your obstacles, taking action steps. The identity. All right, they can't believe the hour's over. I know we could have this conversation for hours. All right, I'm glad you all love it. I tell you, I'm a huge Ra fan. And even though I find him interesting and compelling in any topic we talk about, when it comes to mindset, I find him particularly compelling. I just always enjoy it because he has a unique perspective, a really unique perspective that he owns. And he makes it so clear. He's got great analogies and he does make mindset so very thought-provoking. So this is why this is an annual. Hell, we should make this a quarterly call, Ra. But I won't want to pull you out from doing your business so often. All right, let's give some love and respect, well-deserved, easy to deliver in the chat for our guests, Ra and Ra. Final comments.
Thank you, Leslie. And thank you so much for recapping everything so wonderful. The final thing is just try this writing exercise. It's more than just listening. If you guys actually do it, I laid out the steps, you guys have them, it could be profound. And I just want to invite you that one action step, because that's all you need is that's all you can really handle is one step at a time. So if we can just narrow down that next step, then that makes the whole thing less overwhelming, and overwhelming can kill progress. So we just need to know what to do next.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And for those of you who have never journaled before, and you have this very clear exercise, what I'm going to recommend is just open up your journal. I mean, it could be a piece of paper, it could be a Word doc, although there are scientific things that they've said that there's something different of coming from your brain and going through the pen onto the paper, but I don't care, do it on your phone or on a laptop. But take the time to just open up and write in the morning. It could be a word. It could be one sentence to begin. It doesn't have to be an essay. It doesn't have to be your life's journey. It doesn't have to be your full vision for 2023. Like anything else, start with small baby steps. It could just be a few words, right? And then you will move into a practice, into a habit. Because honestly, I don't think it's an accident that both Ra and I are committed and journal every morning. And that the fact that this mindset plays such a key role in our success professionally and our success personally. So, all right. Ra, I want to thank you. This is great input as we move into 2023. And I hope you had a chance to see some of the input that was coming in on the chat. And I want to thank you very much. It's just a lovely call. Yep. All right, my friends. So it is January 10th. To his point, don't just have a journal full of good notes. Put some of this into practice and see how you can shift your perspective and really increase your courage and tap into that full potential that we know is there inside each and every one of you. And it is a choice to tap into that full potential. It is a choice to do the work. Everything he talked about today falls under my personal development, the work to do to be the person you want to be, how you want to walk through the world, how you want your life to look, how you want to be, the character, the open-heartedness, who you want to be surrounded with, what you want your financial situation to look like, your relationships to look like, your creative expression to look like, your health to look like. It's all a choice every single day. And Jim Rohn, I quote him a lot because he's my fave. He always said, work harder on yourself than your business or your job. And that's our challenge tonight to you. All right, my friends, with lots of love coming your way, I'm going to unmute so you can all verbally send your energy to our friend Ra, and then we're going to bring this call to a close. You all have the ability to unmute and thank Ra personally.
Thanks, Ra. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ra.
Awesome, Raw. Love you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ra. Thank you, Leslie.
All right.
Thank you,
Bring it
Leslie.
down. All right.
Thank you, Ra.
Good night, everybody. Take care.